Hey, BB. Yeah, can you re-invite me to the stream together? Oh, sick. Okay. Oh, fuck, I don't have my phone on me. Hold on. I'll be right back. Nope, never mind. Just in the ensuing chaos, I lost my phone. So, third problem. In the ensuing chaos, I lost my phone, but that's okay because it's connected to my computer, so I can make it ring. Or I could just show the phone screen. Oh no, I can't show the phone screen. No. I'm happy. I'm content. Oh, okay. I was trying to use the thing. I was trying to use the thing to do the thing. Ah, wait. Okay, I found it. Hold on. Phone should play a sound. No, I found the setting to make my phone play a sound. And it's not in this room, so I'll be back. I have been falling for 20 minutes. I've run up the stairs and down the stairs a couple times, and now I'm like, oh wow, I'm so out of shape. I'll bet. I'll bet. I'll bet a lot of things are bad with that stream right now. Okay. Okay. I'm sweating. It doesn't help that unbeknownst to you, I started drinking 30 minutes ago. None of that helps.
I'm trying to, and I can have you hold everyone tight while I go use the restroom.
I'll be tight for everyone.
Okay.
If that's
Well,
what the
everyone
moment
can
desires.
hear you on my side. Chat, I'm gonna go use the restroom really quick. I'll be
Okay.
right back. Be good.
Hey, chat, how you doing? Oh, an ad is ending. Okay. Bum bum ba da dum bum ba da da dum ba da 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 da. I'm trying to get Naruto working again. Trying to get Baldur's Gate working again. And I could turn on music. That could be a thing I could do. Jesus. That was quite loud. So if you're on my side, you can hear music. And if you're not, I don't know what you're doing in there. But I'm happy to entertain you regardless. I hope the chats are touching. They are touching. Excellent. Excellent. Everything's good forever. And nothing could go wrong. Yeah, I'm out of breath. I also could use water. Just like regular water. Not boozed up, caffeinated water. Just like water. Turns out you need that shit. Don't let Captain know. Never let me live it down. But I can't find that large water cup. I have a very, very exceedingly large water cup. That's really useful for streaming. But I can't find it. I couldn't find it, so I was just like, who needs water? Which is not the reaction to have. You could just use a different cup.
Water, trying to get wet.
Water, I hardly know her.
All right. I'm back.
Back.
How's everything on your end? Crisis averted?
Chris is mostly averted. Waruto's not loading, but, you know, like... one problem at a time, huh?
Yeah, baby steps. We walk before we run.
I'm loading up Baldur's Gate. I'm gonna invite you to that, and then I'm gonna run downstairs and get a cup of water.
Okay.
So, because that would be smart to do.
That would be the smart thing. Water is good for you.
Yeah.
Drink water.
I had a big water cup and I couldn't find it, and I was like, who needs water? Because I couldn't find my convenient water cup.
I continuously fight with you on this whole water thing.
Hey, Gamersubs is 90% water. It's water and then powder. And then a little bit of vodka is just for fun. Caffeine and oh no! We're all the way back here. We're very far back.
Very far back? Okay.
We're at the
we haven't
beach.
been saving.
Yeah, no, we haven't. Not.
We have not been saving. And I don't know how auto-save works.
Oh no! I might be inviting you to Waruto. Hold on.
Hey, guess what you're inviting me to?
Waruto? Okay. Well, I'm closing Waruto.
Okay. Got it.
Guess who's switching to Fugi? Guess who can't be fucked?
Okay. I'm going. Off that, minimize that. Bring OBS back up. Oh, okay. They do not like, it does not like the loading.
The loading.
Okay.
I'll show you.
Everything.
Sorry. Hold on. Got distracted. I'm gonna go get water. I'll be right back.
Okay, get water. I'm gonna get Shadow Heart back.
Yeah. Grab her and fight those intellect devourers by yourself. You got this.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Don't do that.
Yeah, no, totally. I got this. Alright, cool. Chat. How are we doing? This was hilariously fun. too heavy to shove. What about for you? Yep. Don't mind me just having some fun.
There's too much demon blood in these self-appointed angels. Acting like
Hey.
you're comatose, speaking like
Hey,
a
pays for horses.
For beating me up with hot goth women, I'll come.
My sibling in Christ, if you see me outside the tavern getting yelled at and pinned by the tiefling baddie, please do not intervene.
Do not.
I am exactly where I want to be. That is one of my favorite memes on TikTok.
It's so good. Me when I don't rob the mangled fisher of his 4 gold coins.
Yeah, we will need those 4 gold later.
Why does Baldur's Gate have no sound?
Oh, why does Baldur's Gate have no sound? I have sound.
Oh, it was muted in my volume mixer still for some reason.
And we hit it with that. Do no damage.
You love.
There we go. Okay. Ooh. Eldritch Blast is so good.
We love a crit. We love critting on 19s.
Ooh,
Damn.
love a crit.
Death won't take me.
Never mind.
Hell yeah. And now we
Now
can
we
talk to these
level up.
NPCs that don't have lines, because they were never
don't
supposed to
have
survive.
Yeah, they were never supposed to survive. I figured that out real quick the first time you showed me that, and they did 1 damage when they hit.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and you talk to them and they're just like, we're drinking outside of Baldur's Gate. It's like, oh, delusionators. We love it.
Yeah, yeah, we love it.
Settlement
Okay, we
somewhere
take
nearby.
Distant, and we take Wind Spell.
Don't waste a step.
We love Twin Spell in this house.
Yeah, Twin Spell's a must. Now, I will play around with the other one, depending on what I'm doing.
In actual D&D, I love Subtle Spell so much.
Touch of Death. When you hit a creature with a melee attack, you can use your channel ability to deal extra necrotic damage. Yeah, okay. Death Domain's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Crisis averted.
And guess what?
What? Oh, okay. Yes, please. we gotta remember that
And I'm gonna be doing that shit.
a lot, please.
Okay.
More of those wretched things. I'm gonna get back up on my high ground.
Go get that chest. That may or may not
I'll
get...
Yeah, go get the chest. I'll get this going. I'll get it going and hold the turn order.
Hell yeah. Wow, that's a good chest. I'm upset I've never noticed it before.
Yeah. One's already dead.
Sick.
And Shadowheart is holding turn order. We're gonna go ahead and hit this one in the back.
Okay.
Ooh, you
Damn.
only got one left to deal with.
Where is she? Oh, right there. Oh! He moved. He
I didn't know
fucking
you were still
moved.
sneaking. I didn't know you were still sneaking. My B girl. Why
That's
did
okay,
go
you hate
under
me.
there?
I was gonna smack him with my rod.
I'm the one that got hit.
Woo! All yours.
and miss.
Shadowheart.
Knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
This is why I
knew
get
it.
that fucking mod. Because she's trying to use intelligence for that firebolt, and it's crazy.
You fight well. Perhaps our survival isn't such a distant prospect.
It makes me mad.
Okay.
What's in here?
How mad does it make you?
So mad. Erect with rage. Where did I fucking get that?
Sorry, I had to read work text.
Damn. Mr. Popular over here.
Ugh. With the wrong people. I love weekend work texts.
Yeah.
That'll fit my
Yeah, that's always what you want.
They're the best.
Okay, Twink. Come here. No, you come here. I can't believe this man just told me to come. Right here.
Hurry. I've got
Right
one
here?
of those
Why not over there?
green things cornered. There, in the grass. There. Now, I saw
Die.
a ship.
Watch me fail it.
didn't I?
Yep.
You're...
What was that?
Whoa.
What's going
Hey, Panda, what's up? What you know good today?
Panda! Let's go. Wow!
Oh no. Here we go.
Okay. We out here waging war on anti-gooner propaganda, and I've always said that. You telling me you don't
Pan-
love a good nut?
The same as
Don't
me.
mess with me? Don't mess with me? Me when I don't know question marks?
I was ready to
I'll
die
give you
at the
nipple
ground
piercings
with your
just to
image.
tape
It's so
9-volt batteries to them? Spooks.
Panda, it has been so long. I am so happy to be here today.
We miss Captain.
I also would like to say, and this is one that I love a little bit less, that my Ring doorbell camera keeps going off because a red wasp is crawling around on it.
Ugh, okay. Bad.
Indeed we are. My
I
name is
I keep seeing my phone light up about every 30 seconds. So I saw it was the Ring app, and I look, and it's just a wasp sitting there. Like, come
Ugh.
outside. But thanks for the bits, Panda. How are you today? Getting drunk and watching baseball for the third day in a row.
Me when I
have not
say
kept-
baseball instead of basketball?
I have not kept up with any sports at all recently.
I know my team lost. That's it. That's all I know.
I'm usually good with keeping up with the hockey season, and usually when March Madness gets here for basketball, I get really into it. Just I didn't have the drive this season.
Real.
All right.
Yeah.
What now?
For baseball, it's the Cardinals.
Very well.
We love birds.
Baseball, St. Louis, hockey, Pittsburgh, and for Major League Basketball, I float between the Celtics and the Memphis Grizzlies. Although I do not shy away from enjoying a Lakers game, because the Lakers are just like really fun team to watch. College ball, I like Duke for college basketball, and I've just never been a college baseball fan. And I'm not a football fan really in the slightest.
Well, so much for peace.
Both professional or college level. I've just never enjoyed football really.
If it were slightly more convenient for me to watch, I would watch a lot more sports games.
I used to be huge on hockey.
Yeah.
I used to be ridiculously into hockey, and then as time went on, I got out of it. Hockey was one that I liked that I could actually go to a game and like sit down and enjoy myself. We're no longer friends. What's your teams? So I can judge you.
Let's go.
if it's anything, if your team for any sport is any team out of Chicago, no, we can't be friends. Baseball, hockey, basketball, it doesn't matter. If it's a team in Chicago, like, I hate it. Other than that, I'm sure we can get along just fine. Oh, it's my turn. Sorry, I was wiping my nose.
No. You're good. You're good. You're good.
I'm a snotty boy today.
I can't make that horny.
Really gonna take this entire. Oh, W. Okay, went for the one person that could properly like defend from that.
Right, the one person wearing a shield. Thank God.
Yeah. All right, and let me go. Let the one. It's weird that Shadowheart's the one character that's strong enough to do this.
I'm mad so much about Shadowheart's build all the time. Every time she does something, I'm more mad at her. It's like, why do you have 13 strength and dex? Make one of them 14, you bastard.
I am just sending everything to your inventory.
Yippee! I love stuff.
There you go, baby girl. All right, let's go get us a wizard. Save. And then go get a wizard.
And then save again.
Yeah.
Because I'm feeling greedy.
Yeah, that's so fun. I know you're everything died on your end, and you've been having computer problems, so I was worried. Then you're like, oh yeah, I just hit the power button, Max.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I should have messaged you on Discord right away. I was just so like frustrated. I was just like, fucking hell.
No. It's fine. If that's the worst thing that happens today, we're doing okay.
Honestly, you don't want to chat? You don't want to chat to our tentacle man?
No. No. I am not the tentacle enjoyer in this VC.
What the fuck?
Traps, please.
Someone back me up.
Dead goblins over there. Worth checking for supplies, maybe.
Me
I'll be
would-
quiet in chat.
I'm taking that
Nobody
one.
backing you up.
No, nope, they fucking hate us.
Us.
Who's us? Better be you and a mouse in your pocket. Fucking. I've stolen that
like
one
that.
so many times.
That's one that I hear at work a lot. And then they don't work with us anymore. But if like they were a mechanic that they said, hey, can you like a reference? They say something that required your natural response is who? They would immediately hit who? Where's the owl? Your feet don't hang on limbs.
That one's worse, but I like it as much.
Tentacle. Panda.
Panda fucking outing you? Outing you in the streets? I knew we were kin. I knew our brain cell transported something. Something slimy.
Sorcerer Charisma.
I'm fucked in the head if I'm lucky.
Now, I wouldn't go that far. I will not judge you for the tentacle.
Thank you.
Couldn't be me.
Don't worry, there's plenty to judge me on. You're not missing out.
Then I can only on the receiving end of the insert. You don't eat most, no doubt. But I
Sorcerer, do that response. Boom, boom, boom. Sounds like plan. You're welcome to join. I meet at camp. Okay.
Bonk.
Well, do we need a nap before we go any further?
I'm good, but if you want a nap.
I still have 2 more spell slots, and I haven't used sorcery points yet.
Oh yeah, the next 2 things we have is the Bazel and then the fight in front of the gate, which other people handle a lot of. So let's just do that and then long rest.
Do we do the fight in the gate, or do we do Withers?
Ooh, Withers is can actually be kind of tough. They can get the skeletons can get lucky. I'd rather just do the gate, just because that's less
fine.
risk.
I just say we do one of those
For sure.
I was just gonna say we only do one of those 2 before a rest.
No, I'm with you.
But we got to go get your girlfriend.
We do. Well, I shan't say culture. Custom, perhaps. It's one of my favorite lines by her.
Zoru was right. Yellow as a toad and twice as ugly.
The thing's dangerous.
Yellow as a toad.
For the goblins to kill.
And if it escapes, how will you... Oh, a guest.
Your skull pounds in response to the prisoner's white-hot stare.
Ooh.
Her lips don't move, yet you hear her voice.
Get rid of them.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to fix my hair. It was getting all tangled up in my headset.
Damn, I'm trying to get it tangled up in something else. My hands.
Hey,
that
now.
sounded like I meant something else, but I...
One of these days, I should consider a haircut, but
Not before I get the chance to manhandle it.
it's been years at this point.
I really want to get a haircut. It's been a year, and it's still just like, I don't know. I'd like it shorter. Hey, guys, can you fuck off?
Please.
Okay.
Oh no.
Demaze, let
No.
kill them.
Well,
Your words flow.
I know what grows inside you, and I know of a cure.
Okay, well, sorry, guys.
Dimesa!
oh, you didn't want to persuade him?
I tried.
You could have persuaded him to shoot the trap down and work together.
Yeah, but
And then-
then it's just me and her killing them. Which I can already do.
Oh, fair, you know.
I'm ready. On the hunt.
We can knock him out if we're feeling particularly generous.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not a good person. I'm not going to say this is a bad guy. I'm just going to say he's not a good guy.
I'm feeling kind of same, actually. I normally love playing good guy time, but practical soldier that just does the thing that makes them stronger and is now a warlock. No, I'll just kill people in my way. That's fine. That's... I'm debating doing something with my hair. Just anything?
Critical miss.
Let's
Critical
go!
miss.
Shadowheart, you beaut. You
Yeah.
fucking... I can't even blame that on your fucking poor management of resources.
I have to change it to ask for reactions because that's not the default and it makes me mad.
Oh, yeah. Damn, there was
I gotta
probably a
remember- I
mod
gotta
that did
remember
that.
to
I should have looked for that. Oh well, it's not too much of a pain in the ass to do.
Where? Oh, there. Oh, come on.
Here we go again.
Oh, cool.
Hit. For 2 damage.
Break them.
Dimesa, no!
Why? Why is it me?
They hate
every
you.
time?
They
I
fucking-
know.
Dude, you're carrying javelins? Fuck. You could jump over there and you chose to throw something instead of stab him? I have opinions of you, Bazel.
Pole hasn't yet
Not good
scrambled
ones.
your senses.
There we go.
Auspicious.
Okay.
But the longer we wait, the
Oh,
more
yeah,
it
you're using dialogue.
consumes. My people possess the cure for this infection. I must find a creche. You will join me.
Yeah.
Here, you go. I think the last time I had a haircut.
Dismiss someone first.
I would object, but sitting by the fire while you do
Yeah,
all the
it was
hard work,
2023.
that's marvelous, actually.
It's been 3 years.
Our victory is most certain.
The length has quit growing. It just keeps growing in thicker now.
Do you know such
Mm.
fortune? Call me Lae'zel. Come. The horned ones mentioned
At some
the
point, I
trap.
do need to go get it
One
fixed,
there,
though.
This Zoru has seen Githyanki.
You get it thinned
The
out?
creche must be near. We will
I
ask
haven't,
this
which is
Zoru
something
where
that
he has
I
seen
think
my
I might be due for because it's a pain.
Right. I know, like, you generally want to see someone very specific if you want to keep the length but have it thinned out, because a lot of people
Yeah.
don't know what the fuck they're doing when it comes to that.
Yeah, yeah. And then I have one person that they're the only person allowed to touch my hair, and it's been the same person for 15 years.
Hmm.
And I'm not gonna know what to do when I move.
That's kind of funny.
All right, so gate first, take a nap, and then withers.
Yeah.
More for me. Not over, then through.
You remember the first time we did this with these bosses, the boss mod, and you sent me up a ladder,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and there was
Yeah, that was really.
I still think about that.
That was quite mean and incredibly hilarious.
Yeah.
Open the bloody gate! Nobody
My bad. They really. I feel like the mod developers really designed it to be that fucking mean, cause that shit's fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Ooh. Booming blade?
We love booming.
We love blades. Anyway. Oh, we get the rallied early. That's nice.
Yep.
Although it's gonna take me 3 business days to get my 2 situated because we were so far back.
I'm sorry. I started it way too early.
Yeah, you're fine.
My sickle and sword.
I don't have a specific someone that I trust, but I have a specific place.
Yeah.
No. I'll just get hit. That's fine.
My 2, I would rather be up here on the rock, so we'll do that. Would rather be up here.
Got a nice view of the chaos.
Yeah.
It's like, God, that sure looks like a whole lot of you guys' problem.
Ooh. Undominable says they have a wolf cut right now.
I know. Undominable, you just know all the right words. You just... And I'm not going to elaborate on that. I just... I'd love to get all up in your fluff. Fuck was that?
Okay.
You just sparkled.
Wait.
You walked up and you sparkled.
Oh, okay, I can't. Okay, I can do this. Which one of you is the most dangerous? I'm gonna say it's you.
Hell yeah.
And boom.
None of my homies fuck with Bane. Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
I love that spell so fucking much just because of the vibes. Just, you touched me and then you
Yeah.
explode. Fuck you.
Yeah.
First step is the hardest.
Cease to exist.
Damn. Cleaning this shit the fuck up. Barth is about to fucking die, but other than that...
Which one? Barth? Yeah, they kind of have that trouble. Not enough movement.
I mean, if you kill Zakrug, maybe he's fine. Nope.
Yeah, no. Let's put that on the worst hitter in the fucking game.
Dude, literally drag Firebolt off of your thing. That shit is useless. And I'm not bitter about that. Bitter?
Lies within.
I hardly know her. Yeah, I'll see myself out.
I need to start using guiding or not. Well, Sacred Flame.
The Toll the Dead. Oh yeah,
it's
Sacred Flame is wisdom.
Yeah, I need to start using it.
Mm-hmm. But it's a save, so it also makes it really hard to hit low level.
Yeah, but
But slightly
chance
better
and-
than yeah.
Yeah.
Got a goth fringe to hide my eyebrow piercing for my chef? Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Wait, hold on. Do I need this? Ooh. Actually. Which one of you?
I am fury.
Okay,
Damn.
that works.
Hell yeah.
Almost two in one go.
Let's go clean up crew.
We win these.
I mean, when I point blank bash someone in the back of the head with a healing bottle, couldn't you have just fed it to me? I know it's a little embarrassing, but fuck.
Yeah.
My fury.
Yippee!
That was the last.
W.
Yippee, yippee!
WWW.
Follow. Open the.
Open the gate.
Yeah.
Was that an ordinary?
What was that?
Huh?
Seems a fool's errand.
Don't
Don't want to talk about.
Okay, Yelp girl.
That was more than a yelp. That was a dedicated moan, and you know it. Oh, they're mad if we loot Barth? Fine.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you can, but we'll have to be like
Sneaky.
careful about it. Yeah, we'll have to think about it.
No, I
That'd be-
guess not.
That'd be an activity for later.
There are children here, you fool!
We was running for our lives.
You led them straight to us, and you let them take the druid too? Unbelievable!
Let? Hey,
Let?
fuck you.
I had to check on something, and I hate this is one of those games that mutes itself when you tab out of it.
Yeah, I keep muting it constantly because I keep checking on shit.
Falling with Gobbo.
Yeah,
He trusted you.
but I
Before he would go with us,
I have to
he
check on something
insisted.
right now.
And when things got tough,
Okay.
we couldn't keep up. Simple as that.
That's good. That's good. Okay.
God,
Sorry about that.
you're a coward.
My God, you're
The
a
human's
coward.
eye twitches. He's about to
I
blow.
love Zevlor to death. He deserves to get punched. Right here. And I'm gonna let it happen.
Should have done that a long
You think?
time ago. Arrogant
No.
prick let out for me from day
Like,
one.
principally, no. For the shit he's saying, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like, you coward, you didn't take on a whole fucking goblin thing by yourself to save the leader of a place that fucking hates our guts. Fuck you, man. I don't give a fuck about the druid. He could turn
Yeah.
into a bear. He fucked off all on his own. He could have turned into a mouse. He could have turned into a bird. But no, he didn't. He went and picked fights.
Only way he shut that hole under his nose. He was right though.
But you know, from his perspective, yeah, there are children here. Fuck you. Like, I don't care about your whining.
Face another round of goblins, then stay in this pit.
Waste our time with idle bickering. For once.
Let's try to avoid any more punching.
While you get him situated,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go take some stock of what we got.
Regression. A cheap shot. I should have expected that.
Better than further bloodshed, I guess.
Indeed. Our survivor saw jaw. This grove has bigger
Okay.
problems right now. Whatever your
I
business,
have a
I'd
few
see to it
things I
quickly
can sell.
that druids are forcing everyone out. This attack will only strengthen their resolve.
Mm-hmm. Watching you run off behind me.
The druid have sins. If it, they've still
Oh, yeah.
stay, but we'll be
It's just
slaughtered
like,
to leave.
me, my problems suck. Anyway, I'm bouncing. Guys, what the fuck? You're leaving me to talk to this guy as he complains? Oh, fine, whatever.
Hey, you started talking to him.
We were bound
The descent.
That's
Yeah,
your
no.
problem.
Infernal
I just imagine you walk into a party and I start talking to the host and I turn around and all of my friends are gone.
Oh
It's just
yeah.
like, it's just like, where the fuck they go? It's like, I think they went to get drinks. Fuck, bastards.
So I hoped, but we've lost so many already. And more will die if we're forced out again.
I have some javelins that I can give to
Youth, perhaps you could
Lae'zel,
persuade her.
if you're gonna keep the
For more
throwing
time
theme
to
up
prepare,
for emergencies.
nothing else.
No, throwing shit's really easy to come across. Just sell it all.
Okay. Don't got to ask me
I know
twice.
you a great you'll find
Just a heads up, we got to add in about 5 minutes on my side, folks.
I do have to go to the bathroom, unfortunately.
Okay.
So I'll be right back.
Well, don't do it here. I still can't afford anything good. Rain Dancer's not that good. There's a better one we can get in a cave near here. So that's fine. Spell Thief don't really need. Don't need Ring of Flinging. Gloves of Magic Missile would be good, but we don't have any money for that right now. In fact, guys, I'm going to go ahead and, because I need to re-up on water, I'm going to go ahead and run a 3-minute ad really fast. We'll be right back. Just hang tight. Alrighty, welcome back. Sorry about that. It was just a good opportunity to get some water while Moth was gone. Okay. So, I need to... Well, not much I can do right now. Welcome back. Thank you, Undownable. Hello, Mushy. Weebies. Weebies. Whoosh. I have enough strength to push her, just not very far. Weebies. Damn it, now it's in my head. Guys, I miss Moth. I wish he was here. It's very sad. Tragic, even. I really want to start like branching out on my character designs for this game, but I can't give up the half elf. This looks good. Plus free cantrip, free cantrip. Oh, there she is. We're just gonna do this till she gets back. I can't get my fucking computer to work properly. I don't know why I keep trying. What's it doing, Undominable? I know just enough to get me into trouble. Push this way. This is kind of therapeutic. Not gonna lie. Wonder how far I can get her before Moth gets back. I want to try to launch an application like Fallout New Vegas, and my mouse decides to no longer exist. Ooh, I don't know that one. Is it with any application or just like when you try to launch certain video games? Oh. Can I go this way?
I'm sorry, I
No.
died.
Oh. Anyway. You died?
I was dying. But I lived.
Oh. Chat, I miss Moth. It's like I can still hear
You sound disappointed that I lived. I don't fuck with that.
No, baby girl, I'll always miss you.
Aww. Okay, I will also be selling things to Aaron.
I sold everything that I had in my possession and came up to 153 gold.
Let's go.
Fast if you do. Just some bits and bobs I no longer need.
I've been grabbing so much shit. I assume you don't really need anything, like, random weapon-wise.
The only thing I think we would need,
keep the rapier.
At some point, Shadowheart could really use the magic missile gloves. But like those are up there. I do not need. The only thing special about the staff that they have is it gives you a free create water. Druid trying to get me wet. It's working.
What?
Thank you. I was very thirsty.
Okay, I'm just gonna leave that exactly where I found it.
Druid, how you doing today?
Druid, hello.
I guess I could talk to the siblings.
Yes, yes. Do we want anything?
Doing good. Finally home from grocery shopping after work. W, how's groceries? What'd you get? What'd you get? What'd you get?
Sorry, did you want the rain dancer?
No, I was gonna say that staff's not that special. There is the other staff in the cave that would honestly be a better option, and we don't have to spend any money to get it.
I see.
No, you hear?
Okay, die.
No.
He's got
Love
me there.
You.
Aww.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I would say this in that situation.
The Ring of Flinging's pretty sick, especially if I keep Karlak and give her the crazy. Oh, that does sound fun, actually.
Oh my god! I failed.
What are you trying to do over there?
I was trying to get the siblings to stay.
Oh no!
Well,
we don't have any inspirations.
No, that's fine. It's gonna be like that this game. We probably won't make it that far anyway.
What? No. What are you talking about? We're gonna make it so far. I want to buy the missile snaring gloves, but they're so expensive and so not worth it right now.
Yeah, they're very expensive. We can always come back.
Yeah.
They will not go anywhere.
Okay.
You want fortune? There's coin in it if you stay.
Ooh.
You know that much.
Surgeon, fine.
Okay, good. I like
here.
they give you that out.
Oh yeah, sick. How much does it cost to
If we survive,
bribe them?
it'll make for a good story, I suppose.
Huh. You have a wonderful chat from someone named Cryptic Cupid.
Hi Maltha, I'm in your home. Please let me in your office. Ah!
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
I don't fuck with this.
You.
I don't fuck with this at all. These vibes are scary. They have fire. They brought fire into my office.
You might want to blow this out.
You put them so close together. I can see them.
Where else do you want them to go?
Here for a sec. My cord only lasts so long. Quick! Jesus.
Chat,
We're gonna
just
set
get
up
to
the
wish
smoke
a
alarm.
pleasant moth a happy
We should open
birthday.
the window.
That window
Wish
is
her a
open.
happy
It is
birthday
open.
right now.
I still
If you
die.
feel so
I'm
inclined
open.
and are stable enough financially to do so, give her some money
Don't
for her
give me
birthday while
shit.
you're at it.
My
is not an
home is on
obligation,
fire. Actually,
but
maybe
it would be
give
very
me. I don't.
No, look, I made you a cake. You'll
Congratulations
probably
on
hate.
being old.
What? That's so cute.
It's
Yes,
the
Indomitable.
ugliest thing
Yes,
I've ever
Indomitable.
I
There's
told you
Moscow
she
Pete.
think it's
There's
cute.
a
Go take care
puddle
of baby
Of
girl.
wax,
There's
I
a
know.
puddle of
I'm
wax.
well aware.
We tried to
thank
walk
you.
very quietly, and it took a while.
What is this, a whiteboard or something?
Yes.
Okay. I told
Okay.
you she would think it's cute though.
It's so cute. Why wouldn't it be cute?
So she meant
I
it
like
to
the
be
puddles
blue.
of piss.
Don't you? Don't you? that was my contribution.
I told you not to pee on the cake.
Well, listen.
There's just so much wax.
Yeah, it'll come up in one big. thing.
Yeah.
I think so.
No, not
Right
yet.
now?
You gotta wait for
Okay,
it to
no, I'll
cool.
wait for it to dry.
It still thinks it's on fire.
Wow, that's so much wax. Thanks. Thank you.
Don't worry,
Yeah.
I also brought you alcohol.
There's
Oh my
vodka
God.
crayons downstairs and
What?
screwdrivers.
Jesus Christ. Okay,
screwdrivers.
well, I am streaming
Yeah, no, take your time.
currently.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
Remember how I
That's
told
how
you I was
she.
here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. You know what? That's true.
Well, go on.
Okay, I don't know what to do in this situation.
It's
in
fine.
this
You have an
circumstance.
audience. What's the problem?
Hey,
Do what
Helta,
people pay for it.
cut that shit out immediately.
Wait, I don't
Fucking
know what
give them the
else to say.
classics.
Helta's given me an unknown amount of money on a website that I shouldn't have. Right? Frankly, I'm not responsible with it.
Yay, money!
That's me.
It
Clapping.
is your birthday.
It's your birthday.
No.
Yaha.
Yes, I know when you were born.
Yaha. It literally says birthday stream.
It does.
It does.
It says birthday shenanigans part 2, I think.
It does say that. It does say that. Okay.
I know stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody panic. We set everybody on fire.
There was a bit of
Hello.
fire.
Oh my
was
god, that is a
really-
lot
we-
of wax.
we
It's
love
a
Actually,
lot of
Yeah,
melted
it really
I
wax.
don't. No, I don't think it's wax. This is buttercream. So I think it got hot and then the icing melted.
Oh. Yeah, that's butter.
So we just have a puddle of matte wax and buttercream
Yes.
mixing together currently
Yup.
in the middle of the. Okay.
Don't worry. If it tastes bad, it also looks like shit.
Yeah.
So it's thematic.
Yeah.
So it's on purpose.
Meant to be.
Okay. Got.
Take it.
No, yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
Do you want this?
Put it
So now
downstairs.
that I've forced you to blow out a bunch of candles that you weren't ready for,
Should I come down? Should I?
you do what
Should
you
I just
want.
leave these assholes here?
No, you
yeah,
got.
fuck you guys.
Okay.
Damn.
Stream I haven't seen
Damn,
since
chat.
Christmas.
Damn.
My bee. No, you don't have to stop streaming.
No.
Okay.
Anything.
I also
appreciate
brought you,
it.
I also
Yeah.
brought lemon bars because this is probably gonna taste horrible.
You have
We
no
don't know
faith in you're a really good baker.
I was gonna say,
No,
you say that
Everything you
every
made
time.
it tastes really good.
I was
Yeah.
tasting all the bits as I was making it yesterday, and the buttercream tastes like butter, the lemon curd tastes like you're drinking lemon juice, and the cake tastes like shortbread. How did I do that?
The buttercream does taste like butter.
I know!
That is a cake.
I was
smothered
like,
in
if I
butter.
ever make this again, I probably won't.
And I
but I'm
assume
gonna use
regular
way
butter.
less
So this is the.
No, it's
the-
vegan.
Oh, okay. So I won't shit myself at
Yes,
least.
you're lactose intolerant. You're allergic to eggs. I love you dearly. I'm not
wow.
gonna poison you on your birthday.
Oh, sick.
I mean,
You could poison
Oi.
Comfy.
Yeah.
comfy.
Me trying to use your Twitch names and not use
Quick,
my own
quick!
name.
Remember who we are.
Hey, Druid. I see that.
Oh, they're being horny in
Aw.
chat.
Are they?
That's what they do.
Put the
Yeah.
cream in your mouth, gorgeous.
Damn. Sorry.
I shouldn't say that to
Damn.
you.
No.
Y'all are nasty.
Aw, they're calling each other good girls. They're praising each other.
It's just a praise
I know.
circle up in here.
Aw,
It's
How
a
sweet.
circa praise.
I shouldn't be.
Instead of a circa jerk?
Yeah.
I know. Every time I
Nasty,
pop in on
nasty,
your
nasty
stream
folks.
and you're being
Oh,
horny
damn.
with
It doesn't
chat,
work on
I'm
my
like,
end.
we're related, and I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I should go.
Yeah.
I have to do it on your side. Never mind.
What are you doing on my side? What?
Don't worry about it. Don't
Stop.
Don't worry
I
about
see
it.
you.
Don't. Don't.
Our chats are touching.
Thank you, Inaudible.
Fuck you,
Chats over
Undoubtable.
here?
The chance.
We touching chats or
we,
what?
we touched
There we
tips. We touched bases.
All right, I was being clever,
I wasn't.
subtle.
It's subtle. We don't do that here.
We don't do subtle.
We're probably gonna throw.
The cake?
I don't think you're gonna like it.
Slice me
Gamer.
a slice of that fucking cake,
Yeah.
and it better include a piss puddle.
Let's
It's
let's
go-
do
it's-
this. Let's-
And it better.
I feel
include a
like I
piss
have
puddle.
to put a picture of this in the Discord just so everybody knows.
that no one has actually pissed on the cake.
I don't know.
I thought they
I
would
feel
assume,
strange.
but you know, yeah,
Yeah.
share it.
My
Yeah.
Franken
It's a
cake,
beautiful creation.
It's the ugliest thing I've ever created. Oh my god, the candles. Want
Yeah.
a drink?
That's what fire does. I got.
Do you want
yeah,
alcohol?
yeah. I love alcohol.
Do you want a crayon or a screwdriver?
I love a crayon.
A crayon? I thought you would, and that's why I stopped at Wegmans.
You're. Love you. Thank you. Can I have a slice of cake too? I just don't trust you.
Spoken like true sibling.
Yeah. We ride hard. Well, you know, we're riding soft. That just sounds like inconvenient.
Really though, happy birthday, Moth.
Thank you. Thank you. I am one step closer to the
Chat.
grave. I'm so excited.
Shower her in birthday wishes and money.
Don't do. You already did that, guys. I was here for it. I think Captain might be losing his mind. You already did that. You're good. Don't even worry about it. Screw drive her. I barely know her. Somebody ban Druid. So,
No, don't.
Not in my chat. I like her too much, but in someone's.
As I have said about Druid, never change, get worse.
Yes. Helta, go ban Druid in Vapor's chat for 10 seconds. A punishment must be levied.
Is Vapor still live?
No.
Okay. No, they kept going after TNT.
After huh?
I know Vapor kept going after D&D. I saw him on my Twitch window. But
What a suspicious little rat. What?
Yeah.
You guys are very sweet. Thank you for being here while I am harassed by my siblings.
Nah, you love to see it. W birthday, W people.
Incredibly W creeps. I look forward to an entire year of you assholes. That can only make me worse, which I'm so excited for.
At some point, we still need to do the birthday collab I had planned in January.
That's true. It is your birthday as well, right now.
No, it was in January.
Yeah, I know.
Ignore her. Ignore her.
No. But like right now, just saying, people who love like celebrating birthdays, there's another birthday right here, right now that you could celebrate. Here, right now.
No. We don't have to make this about me.
But we could.
No, this is your day. This is your day.
I know. It's aw shucks. Hold on.
I spent my day living like a mountain hermit.
And we love the mountain hermits. All right, hold on.
You're
One
fine.
sec.
I'm holding on for dear life.
Sorry, I'm just figuring something.
Yeah. There it is. There it is. Oh, wait, no, that was you. I thought that was for your channel when I saw your name. You
Guys, get him! Guys, get him!
No, it's your
You
day.
deserve some
Stop
of the
that.
fucking sparkly, shiny days. We have been talking about this as a, oh yeah, we both didn't celebrate or like we didn't do the captain stream. I want to hang out with you. I haven't gotten to hang out with you. I'm celebrating now. I'm giving you stuff now.
Okay. I'm gonna get you back. Helta! No!
Yes! Get him!
And
Fucking
your
get him.
piss.
Thank you. I have a wine glass full of crayon.
And I forgot to get you a fucking fork.
Okay.
Hey, you better not get me a virgin fork.
From the top. Pleasant Moth, thank you for the 20 gifted. Looks like
Oh my god,
Rue
you're
got
so
one.
welcome.
Piranha. Oh. Mantis got one. Vesper got one. Dog Sweater.
Man,
Chombles.
all the bangers.
Shade, CK. Spooks got one.
Another moth girl? You're cheating on me?
Don't worry about it.
What
Anyway,
the fuck?
my collection. Oh, Torse got one. V got one. Moth Girl. Mushy got one. W.
Huge W.
Para. W. Bunch of cool people got them. And Helta, thank you for the 10,000 bits. Cease.
Cease immediately.
Moth Harem, let's go. Well, you're not wrong. Druid.
I'm just happy to be included.
Biddies. What do you mean, baby girl? You're at the top. The top of the bottoms.
Aw, shucks. I thought that was Helta.
Of the Moth Girls.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah. Druid. Okay, I see what you're doing. You can stop. That's plenty.
We love not knowing how to count here. We love.
Yeah.
The cake is really good. I'm sick of my beloved sister bitching and whining all the time. Oh, I'm so bad at baking. And then it tastes great every time. Die.
It sounded good.
Mm-hmm.
If we left, we could at least make a run for it.
I'm not normally a blueberry lover, but this shit fucks.
Blueberry, that's kind of one of my favorite flavors.
Really?
Yeah.
Good to know.
That's why the I keep talking about the iced edition Red Bull.
Hmm.
It's called iced vanilla berry. All it is blueberry vanilla flavored Red Bull.
Oh, that's kind of fucking right up your alley.
It's right up my alley. Two of my vanilla is like my quintessential favorite flavoring for sweet stuff. Not big on chocolate. So vanilla anything, fire. Vanilla fruit anything, ultra fire. The top of the bottoms. Yep, that's Ma.
Hey, I'm definitely fruity enough for you, but I don't know that I'm vanilla enough.
Hooray, funny looking dogs. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that.
Look at all
Hello,
those
dog
pigeons.
Sweaters. Enjoy your sub from Moth.
Hey, happy to support. Happy to give people the grace of a bunch of funny looking dogs.
All right now.
All they need is to be put in sweaters.
Well, if it's a bunch of funny looking dogs, I know what we need here.
My toes in. Oh, okay.
I like how that's working on you now.
I don't fuck with that at all. I don't know why it does. It shouldn't. I feel like that shit should require training of some kind. Prep work. No prep work was done. I just stutter.
What do you think I've been doing for the last year of our friendship?
Fuck. I see it now. It's all coming together. It's all coming.
Yeah, do not come. Anyway, where do we go now? What are you thinking? Do we go talk to Kaga? Do we take a nap and go talk to Kaga? Do we take a nap and go to Withers and then come back? Or
how are you doing? You didn't use? Oh no, you did use spells in that last fight.
Yeah. I'm gassed, and Shadowheart has one spell slot left, and her channel.
Yeah, let's nap time.
Yeah, nap time. W. Oh my god, you take a nap together?
Oh my god. Gale wants to talk to somebody.
I'm looking on my screen. I see two. Pull up my stream right now and look at what isn't at Gale in the top corner of my screen. Hey, W Hype Train hit level 7.
Yeah, he's staring at his reflection, but he's being extra about it because he's fucking wizards.
Yeah. That's right. Eccentric wizard bullshit.
But does he have an exclamation mark for you?
He does. Does he have one for you?
If I talk to him, I'm gonna punch him.
Okay. I'll talk to him.
Yes, I get to talk to my twink.
Not a tentacle to be seen.
I guess.
Indeed you could. We're all doing surprisingly well, given the circumstances.
Eccentric wizard bullshit.
First sign of change, and I'll have to stop that.
It bothers you, and then you actually play a wizard, and then you also do the eccentric wizard.
Yeah.
Strangulation, whatever you'd prefer.
Oh, I've got a sorcerer moment here. Typical, a wizard using magic just to admire his own fear.
I don't think poison is for me. Nor stabbing, come to think of it.
So true.
I always felt decapitation was a fine choice. One good swing and then nothing. But we were talking about you. What'll it be?
First and foremost,
a fine choice.
until recently, nothing at all.
To use sword or axe or a saw. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is all a worst-case scenario, obviously.
Shake your head.
If the last day has taught me anything, it's that the impossible is more likely than you think. Now, let's get some rest. The sooner we start tomorrow, the better our chances of keeping this hypothetical.
Long live the abnormal.
The pragmatic in me, however, sees only the silence before the
He is
storm.
such a little
Something
bastard.
to sleep on. We should
Yeah.
get some rest.
All right. Now, where
Abominations
is my
grow
sweetheart?
inside us.
Where is my
Bones should
my
ache.
darling?
Our
Where is
arms
my
should bleed.
half elf
Yet we
goth
thrive.
baddie? There
This
she is.
madness. Keep your rest short. Time is not our ally.
I like that part when you start this dialogue with Shadowheart. I couldn't help but overhear. Well, I could, but I didn't.
She's so goddamn
I
cute.
feel the same.
It's fucked
Yeah.
up.
Other than the occasional mental exchange, it's almost as if we're not infected. The voice on the ship told me
I
would
don't
come
know,
and
but House
be
and Might if we can find
agreed.
him.
We can't take the lack of symptoms for granted.
I'm just
All right.
I'm reading out loud
I've
my
kept you in
option.
your blanket long enough.
How's the
Rest well.
cake?
Very buttery. It does
Buttery.
taste of butter. But I don't mind that it tastes of butter. In fact,
Right.
I kind of fuck with it a lot.
There you go.
Damn, look at that ass. Sorry.
What is it with people and the story?
Look at him. He's fucking great.
Ah, yes. You are the I can fix him woman.
No, I definitely can't. But, like, God, he'd be fun to be with.
Okay.
Hello again, Cryptic Cupid. It is buttery.
Yeah.
But I don't mind that it's buttery.
Really?
I fuck
No,
with
Drew,
butter.
Drew,
Okay,
you could
so
have probably
I
said
thought
that.
it was insane
I
when
feel
was
like
reading
that
the
wouldn't have got
recipe,
you in
and it
trouble
was
at
like
all
buttercream.
because we
3
we
sticks
know
of
you.
butter, and I was like, really? Really? And it only made me put 1 jar of blueberry sauce in. Enough.
Yeah. And here we are. It's butter.
170.
I can't
powdered
believe
sugar.
it's butter.
It's not. You won't believe this. It's not butter.
Holy shit!
Oh my
Which works
god!
because that's what I used.
I'm gonna lean into you so you can hear Captain also exclaiming.
Oh, okay.
Also, Druid saying fucked up things, which we love.
Yeah.
Infinitely filthy. I don't know that I'm prepared. Well, that was AFK, but thank you. Aw, shucks. You're so welcome. You when I'm AFK in the Twitch chat.
But thank you.
Oh
Offline
no,
farming.
Mushy's a professional lurker.
We love professional lurkers. I just love that
Yeah.
they used AFK instead of lurking. That's gonna be me. What does that stand for?
Absent. Word away from keyboard, but I said absent. Like a dumbass.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I
my
wasn't-
literary skills are just too blatant.
I'm
so-
gonna, guys, hold on. I need to beat
Wait,
up a
no,
blood
I brought
relative.
you cake.
You brought me butter.
But there
As
was
one
cake under
does.
the butter.
You brought me a tub of butter with shortbread in it.
And weird lemony stuff.
And piss. And puddles of piss.
I need to turn that
I
down
hate it here.
just a
This is what I get for
smidgen.
being
I see
kind.
something. There we go. Alright.
Thank you.
Bitch!
No reason for us not to stay.
Sorry, I killed Moth. I'm taking over. It's
Oh,
my
no.
birthday.
W, happy birthday.
Oh, I was given the headphone. Good. I don't know what the hell we're doing.
Give me those back.
Wait.
You haven't even flirted once. What the fuck is this? This ain't a moth replacement.
How did you survive?
Lady.
I ended your shit up.
Well, you know.
Can't flirt with these people. You're a child.
You're not.
In my mind.
my host of 30-year-olds that I try to fuck on the internet.
You're ancient. I'm
I'm
young.
ancient.
Try.
Okay, we were talking about how many candles to put on this fucking cake, and I was like,
I am 28!
yeah, and I was fucking floored!
Die!
I was rattled. I forgot that we age.
Time.
I still think I'm like 17.
Wait till you get in your 30s, it all falls apart.
Wait till you get in your 30s and you fall apart.
I'm already falling.
Well, that's just because you dumb.
Oh no, would you hit 30 and that shit accelerates.
That shit
drastically.
accelerates. Your fall apart gets more efficient.
Oh no, but I have paralyzing hip pain yesterday.
Yeah.
You're telling me it's gonna get worse?
Mm-hmm.
I have chronic body out.
The cruel mistress of time.
Yeah.
I thought my brain was deteriorating. Like 3 weeks.
Well, that's just the incessant drug use.
Yeah, no, you're right. I should probably stop doing crack.
Yeah, well,
that one's on me.
I keep saying that.
Just quit messing around.
Quit messing around. That's right. I heard that one. I got me way more than I should have. Oh, ad, by the way. Fucking hell. Cap, can I get you to be moth for me?
Have you talked to the strange ox?
No, I can't talk to animals.
I can't either, but it's still a funny interaction.
You learn how to talk to animals. I'm gonna go get drunk in your kitchen.
Okay, enjoy getting drunk in my kitchen.
Because I'm 17 and that's what we do.
You're literally gonna get me banned on Twitch. You are 20. You are 23, 25, 27.
When's my birthday?
80 years old.
When is my birthday?
I'm closing the door now.
On stream.
I'm
When was I born?
J month. J month 34th.
No!
Hey, Emery's here.
Hi, Emery.
I talked to the ox. One Arcana check. We determine something is weird about the ox and then progress no further.
Yeah. Hello, ox.
Have you never really heard that one? Quit messing around?
No, I have not. That was pretty good.
Something's off.
Moo!
Moo!
Thanks.
Are you just sitting on the rock?
It's a flat rock. What else would you do with it? No. Seat for one. Unless you're sitting on my lap.
Hold on.
And you're trying.
Now.
Do you mean when I steal the flat rock?
Oh, you can sit on my lap.
I tried to.
You know you want to.
Hey!
Anyway. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go do Kaga, or do you want to go ahead and go get Withers knocked out? Just in case we fuck Kaga up and it gets sideways in here.
That would be very sideways.
Yeah.
Let's go fuck Kaga.
Okay. I know you would, you fucking bottom.
What the hell?
Let my daughter go right now! She's a thief, hellspawn, and you will wait for Korga's judgment. Now get back!
I like how he roars and then changes.
Yeah.
And no one else in game does that ever.
My guy just likes screaming and then turns into a bear.
Yeah. Oh.
I like to think he just does it so often that he kind of can't keep track of when he's a human and when he's a bear. So he's just out here bearing it up.
He just, yeah.
Give her a chance.
That could be some fun, like, at the table RP. As
right?
A druid. You, like, be a race that lives a long time, has a super long lifespan, and you've just been a druid doing wild shape so long, you've kind of lost the touch to differentiate when you're not in wild shape.
I fuck with that a lot. I've done like the raised by wolves barbarian trope, which I feel like functions similar, but that would be like kind of great in a different way that I would love to try out.
Yeah.
Keep back for
a moment.
Gianna.
You.
John.
My random Italian druid friend.
Why did I go left around the bear?
Out here trying to get a good look.
I
Out here
guess.
prepping for the Halcyon romance.
No, ma'am. That is not me. Not I, says the captain.
Please. I'm sorry.
This is madness, Korga. She's just
A what, Wrath? I will imprison the devil. And I will cast out every stranger.
Oh, hi, stranger.
Oh, hi, stranger.
We will speak soon enough. First,
I love that if you're a paladin, she just trusts you implicitly. Like, actually, I'm gonna do this shit because that's my job. And she's like, fine, here's my case.
I don't think I've done this I've played a paladin, but I don't think I did this interaction as the paladin.
It's pretty... I don't know. I find the trope of paladins insufferable. So, for me, I was just like, what the fuck is going on here? But I do like it for people who enjoy that premise. I cannot kill the child. Thank you for your thoughts.
I have one critique of this game that has not changed since the game started, and I, for the sake of trying to make like a headcanon for my characters, wish you could have the option to go into the game as an Oathbreaker instead of having to start the game and break your oath
and go do something crazy. Yeah.
The hiss of approval
Same.
reveals its intentions.
So I get why they didn't, because the cutscene of becoming an Oathbreaker is like the coolest fucking shit that anything has ever done.
Yeah. But they totally could have like threw something in there like, oh, you're an Oathbreaker, what happened there? And then you have the option to select it, and it throws that cutscene in, and it's you recollecting your memory.
Yeah,
like they could
that's
still
true.
work that scene in there, and then you started as an Oathbreaker. But it's a, in the grand scheme of the game, a very minor critique, honestly.
Yeah, especially since it's pretty easy to break your oath and not like lose a lot of morality points.
Yeah.
Thank you, Korga. Master Halcyon
isn't here.
Because like the Oathbreaker Paladin, I played one Oathbreaker Paladin before at the table, and like it was. Why do you want to talk to me already? Oh yeah, because it hurts.
It hurts.
It hurts. And it was a situation. It was like a Conqueror Paladin turned Oathbreaker because they were tired of conquering. So it was just like, you know, you can be an Oathbreaker for very minute things in the grand scheme of all the options you have as a Paladin.
Right.
But I do like the cutscene that they do for when you break your oath in game. It is very, very cool.
Yeah. No, it's pretty sick. And we love a Scottish NPC who talks about like fucking killing a king.
Yeah.
That shit's sick.
So it's sick. It's so good. All right, turn to other matters, and we leave this dialogue for later. Approval is getting up there.
I don't know if it was possible to fuck that hard. Well, if I knew someone to train me, how convenient would that be?
Oh. Now I gotta talk to her again.
Oh.
I got close enough to the wolf.
Oh, she never fails this. Damn.
No.
By letting that child escape without consequence. We might as well have lain on the ground and let them trample us.
You've been decent to me so far. Maybe if you can.
Hi,
don't make me
Vivi!
face any more of them. At least.
Vivi's here? W. I'll try to avoid wolves in future when possible. Yeah, there we go.
Vivi, I hope you're doing well. New drawing tablet? Let's fucking go. More hell to art.
W.
Huge
Give us
fucking
your art.
W.
Okay. There we go. All right. I think we're done with the Miss I Can Fix Her for now.
All right, time to go argue with Kaga.
Say it.
Oh, you think I'm a bad person because I do the bad person things? Yup, sure do.
You would say so. I know.
I don't know. I kind of sympathize with her mindset a little bit.
I would sympathize with her mindset if it was an adult.
Defending her brood. I call her mother. You call her monster. No matter.
And if she said less racist shit.
And the writers resumed.
I can fix her types. No. That is Some people, not all people. Some people.
And mine perish if he stays. You showed great mettle at the gate. The mettle of a skilled sword for hire. I want you to provide your services to Zevlor. Offer to guide the Outlanders out of the
Moth
grove.
Health Druid's not believing me.
I'm sure
Oh wow! Look, my grandma's stuck in a tree. And on fire. I gotta. Ooh, I can't.
And on fire.
And on fire.
Damn, that's crazy.
That's so crazy.
You will do more than speak. This tale ends but one way. With the Outlander rot cleansed, and the grove forever shrouded.
Damn, I need more water. Like I haven't been able to get enough today.
Water.
What are those?
Do we want to talk to the healer? Is there really anything useful that comes with that?
Druid trying to get me wet. It's working.
He has a voice line. I fuck with the voice line.
There we go. Okay.
Oh, you on a cooldown? You coward. You.
I know better. That and it because it plays an animation on screen. When I didn't have the cooldown, it got super overloaded and just broke my on-screen alerts.
I see.
Do we want to go talk to
the lady? Is it useful in any way? I don't know. Who can? Could get some wyvern poison.
Yeah, which can come in handy. It actually can come in real handy.
Oh yeah, we're in fucking crazy mode. I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
Because we're replaying it, I'm like not taking it that seriously, and then I'm like, oh yeah.
No. We're very much in danger mode here.
There. Now, what was it you need? You found her, but I still don't know what she can do for you.
Nettie. I kept calling her Letty, and I don't know why.
Me when I don't remember people's names.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Crawled in? Did it look like a tadpole?
Anyway.
Come.
Yippee.
This way.
Yippee.
I'm gonna get poisoned.
You don't have to get poisoned.
What?
There's something in that vessel. Take a closer
Could be fun.
look.
Yeah.
This one had
Rue, hey, welcome in.
Attacked us in the woods
Hi,
together
Rue.
with some goblins. Tadpole crawled
Yuck! How dare you? I'm hurt. I'm wounded.
Oh shit! You're in dialogue. Whoops.
I'll do the best I'm no
Oopsie. I was hoping not to be killed. Doesn't answer. No. Okay.
Still, you don't have. I will. All right.
Yeah, Amy. She really.
Let's
when
see
you
what
think
we can
about it
do.
as a character, yeah.
Of course.
Hi, Rue. How are you
Now,
today?
Tell me what's been happening. Any symptoms? Strange events?
Yeah, she straight is like leftover triage. It's like another person walks in and is like, "Hey, I'm a bomb." It's like, "Oh, cool. Why don't you just step into this side room really quick?" Well, like,
yeah. Could be better, but things are looking up. Hey, always got to look ahead.
Not that the others know they're victims, of course. How'd you pick up the parasite? Halsin was desperate to find where.
no,
all
that's
this
super
was
great.
happening.
I'm glad things are looking up.
A mind flayer ship? But Master Halsin was sure.
I like how she's like a mind
You've been
flayer
straight
ship.
with me,
Aw.
so I'll be straight with you.
The mind
You're
flayers?
dangerous.
They had the
If you
mind
come
flayer
forward
tadpoles?
here, we're all dead.
Emery, you trying to get me wet? It's working.
Yeah, I was trying to. Fucking hell.
This is a vial of wyvern poison.
Get in line, Moss.
I'm trying.
Use swallow it if you feel any symptoms.
Thank you for the drink. I was
I
thirsty.
hope it doesn't come to that. You know, Master Halson and I, because you should all be children.
Yeah.
There should be for one. That thing, it's one of not yet, anyhow.
Once again, not invited to a Baldur's Gate 3 thing with Moth? Hey now. I'm going into the rack? Well.
Ooh. You in trouble.
That could be kinky if I focus hard enough. Listen, we all gotta make the best of our situations. Kinky, see? I'm not the only one.
Yeah, it's Druid. It's expected from Druid.
It's not expected from me by now?
You try.
Heartbreaking. Druid, teach me your ways. I gotta change how I'm thought of.
Could be. But there's a lot
Back to work. Enjoy Baldur's big ass door. Yeah, don't work too hard today. Don't let them get to you.
Don't work at all today. Tell them to go fuck themselves.
No, please go to work and get that bag.
Bag helps. Yeah.
I think so.
Get that money.
You can find Halson and get him out of there. We can discover. I can't make any promises.
Baldur's big ass door was originally Rue's joke, wasn't it?
Before, but I know this for sure.
Yeah, you
I
said
stole
it to me one
that
time,
shit.
and it's been in my head ever since.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that vial's your only option.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. It would mean
There.
I wish I could
Now
tell
we
you
have
more.
poison that can be a surprise tool for later.
For my face.
Come on.
It is a good joke. It's a great joke. Is she looking away now? Okay,
Yep.
you got it. Good. I just wanted to make sure we got it.
Just in case. Just in case we want to slurp a little slimy treat.
Yeah. And I guess we could get the letter while we're still in here, and then we don't have to come back here for a while.
Do we even need the letter? I mean, I guess we can grab it. We know where it is, though.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You don't need the letter. You can just find the thing. Okay, yeah, you're right. We don't need it.
Seems simple enough.
It's like a mind virus. everyone who hears it uses it. The curse of being funnier and hotter than everyone else.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know much about it, Rue. You want to go kill some harpies real quick?
Harpies? Aren't the harpies kind of difficult?
They
and we're
are.
Still level 2?
But if we fuck off, the kid might die.
If we don't go down there yet, the instance doesn't load.
Oh.
I'm down for whatever. I'm genuinely down for whatever.
I've walked it down here. I'm here now.
Okay. It's your birthday, though.
Just gonna armor up real quick.
I am.
Fuck. That's right. Hold on.
Yeah. I'm holding.
I keep forgetting to equip the fucking thing.
Hey, don't forget that. You need that. I don't know. I
we
don't know what the thing is.
We worked so hard to get it.
Tried so hard.
And got so far. Sick. Big fiery sword.
Oh yeah, you got that now. All right. We are. We are up here to provide aerial support.
Let's go.
Listen.
And I can't wait for all of us to fail our saves on round 1.
Yep.
This is gonna be a quick game.
It's so peaceful.
Nope, I don't hear anything. Don't worry about it. I'm not risking it for the silly. Not this time.
Yep. Shadowheart saved.
Let's go.
And it still doesn't have me in turn order for anybody. There it goes.
Look, we all resisted except you.
Yeah. Great work.
Whoa.
Yeah, Rue, we're playing honor mode.
How'd you get jumped up?
This is my first honor mode experience.
Is that a shadow sorcerer thing?
What's that?
Getting popped up when you drop?
It must be.
Huh.
I wasn't I was reading chat. What can I do here in this situation? I can
Strength of Grave, yeah. You have the same thing I do.
Damn.
Oh, fucking hell.
There we go. Okay, keep her up. Or keep him up. Yeah, miss.
Yippee, yippee, yippee.
W hit. That sword is so good.
It's pretty sick.
Oh, resisted. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kill this one, I think. So maybe I should have gotten the one that was singing, but you're resisted now that you got dropped, right?
Yeah, I
resisted. Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah. I'm back up. I am just deciding on how I want to do this.
I wasn't able to drop the one near me.
They succeeded their constitution save. Okay. I'm just gonna stay here because there's no sense in me moving.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Oh, well.
That's fine. That's totally fine. The child is dead, but, you know.
Well, we'll do that.
Yeah, magic missile
Back
would really
away.
be handy right now.
Oh, who followed me? Cora, thanks for the follow.
Let's go.
Oh. Hey, so about this For Honor run.
Ah.
Hello.
I didn't even realize Mushy Doodles followed me as well. If you're still here, thank you very much.
W people. W people.
A bunch of W people. The bastards. I'm surrounded by people with very low health.
I'm doing good. I'm on my first For Honor run with Moth here, and it is
About to
taking a turn.
end.
No, about to reset.
I'm trying to get in a position where I can cleave these two. Oh well.
I believe in you.
No, it's not gonna happen, but that's okay. I might be able to just batter this one down with the pommel.
There you go. Do it again. Okay.
Easy fucking peasy.
Okay. Stay up. Even if you have to run, stay up.
Oh, you're both down.
Yeah.
No, that's bad.
Yeah, no, like this took a turn. I pushed the Harpy away from Shadowheart so I could get away without drawing opportunity attack, and then not thinking, tried to go use the vines right by where the Harpy was and got down for opportunity attack. Druid.
Swift as my
Oh,
feet can
hey.
carry me.
Did you get me back up?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do anything because I had to get up this turn.
Mm.
I am bad about remembering those rules.
I didn't know it used your bonus action to get up.
Yeah, it uses everything to get back up from being revived like that. Or picked up like that.
Extremely bad. Okay, well, do you want me to pick up your sorcerer? Or try and attack to stop the singing?
I would try to stop the singing, honestly, if it were me.
That is also my opinion.
If it were me.
Okay. I guess not.
Well.
That didn't do any fucking damage.
No, it did not. It did not.
What the fuck? I guess they'll take a D4 on their turn. Maybe that'll stop it. Hopefully.
Ooh, okay. Still doing good.
Oh, that's right.
We got this. Okay. gonna help. And that's all I can do. But let's stay alive. That's the main goal right now.
No, we got this.
I'm glad you think so.
We're fucking golden.
Don't
Okay.
waste a step.
God, that is kind of annoying, though.
Oh, you're just throwing everything now.
Yeah, I mean, I can't reach him.
Not even with the Eldritch?
No.
Oh, you were just outside of the range, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I stopped the singing.
Well.
So now you can just get dropped regular ways.
That's fine. That's fine.
Do you want me to lift you or attack it?
If it works. Oh, attack. I'll get up.
Sick.
Let's just focus on getting them killed. Just heads up, we gotta add in about 5 minutes. Did we all? Oh, saved.
Did all of us save? Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Sick.
I am, however, gassed on a bunch of stuff. There we go. Perfect.
Okay.
A lot better.
Pretty much.
I
Pretty much good.
Can't do anything, so we'll end again.
Oh,
W.
thank God it didn't fucking coup de grace you.
I'm succeeding saves for once. This doesn't happen that often.
Treasure this moment.
Yeah, I got like hold on to that. Uh-oh. Why? Oh. How much?
You want to lift yourself up? Oh no, you got it. I'm always scared to end a fight, just in case I'm like in a thing that kills me.
Oh yeah. Nah, we're good.
Because I've done
We're
that
good.
before.
I never doubted us for a second.
Yeah?
That almost leveled us up, and we were less than halfway.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and use a spell. Oh, I don't have it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and short rest.
Yeah. Do a short rest, and we'll be fine.
And then make Lae'zel go do the jumping.
Yep.
Poor kiddo be dead. Hey, you know, that happens.
Yeah, can't save them all.
We tried.
Yeah. It is what it is. I don't know why I ran over here. You don't need me over here.
Well, you know, I like the company.
Yeah.
Anyone want color spray? The most useless fucking spell in the world?
Put it in our pocket, because I guess if we're going to have Gale, we'll have to feed Gale. That's the thing we're going to have to think about.
An efficient path. Have a lot on my mind.
Do they have anything on them? They don't ever have anything on them, dude. Just
No.
bones. Never mind.
One of them had 2 gold.
Where? Oh, American. Well, I mean, consolation prize. Merkin had 15 gold on him.
Damn. We want to rob the child?
They'll die soon. Have no space. What's your builds? I heard Shadow Sorcerer. Yeah, I'm doing a Sorcerer this run, and when they did the last update, they added Shadow Magic subclass to Sorcerers, so I'm giving it a go. Don't know if I'm going to stay Sorcerer the whole run. At some point, I may get an Eldritch Machine Gun build going with a Sorlock, but for now, at least for the meantime, it's going to be a full Sorcerer build.
I'm gonna go get a shovel and leave Lae'zel here standing on a rock. I fucking forgot we don't have one yet.
What were you thinking about with your build?
I was thinking I was tempted to research the Paladin Warlock, but I might just go flat Warlock.
Might go flat Warlock. W. I didn't even see you walk off.
I'm just looking for a shovel. Oh, does Aaron have one?
Quick word.
You hold on. I know where I can go to get one.
Okay.
That way we don't spend money.
But please, remember, you're not the only one.
Yeah, he doesn't have one anyway.
Yeah.
The bastard.
I know where one is roundabout, so I'm
I know
looking at
there's
it right
one near the thing. Oh, you already got it?
now. Not yet. I'm heading to it.
Okay.
Character's moving. Why did the auto pathfind take the route that put you walking through fire?
I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that happening.
Love that. Love every bit of that. Lazel needs it.
Yeah, but she'll auto take it just for one of us having it.
There was a path that went around, but instead it went through the fire. Love that. That's great.
I just have never, Rue, I've never fucked with Warlock dual class, so I just don't know it very well. But I'd definitely be interested in doing dual class stuff, because I like doing it. It's fun.
No one back home will ever believe this.
I genuinely don't multi-class in this game a whole lot, but
Yeah.
I haven't, with the things I've done, I haven't just had the urge to.
1 paladin, 1 or 3 warlock, rest paladin? I see, I see. So it's mostly paladin build. What do you even take in warlock for?
Yeah, they kind of don't.
Boss! Got company up here!
What's this then?
For packed weapon? Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Us and loot the crypt? Not happening.
Are we going to try and get these people out of here, or deal with them?
I love murder.
All of it.
I'm down for whatever, but if that's the case, I'm going to... Oh, not this button, that button. I'm gonna see if they'll let me walk by.
I'm gonna try and... Oh, I have a half-orc line. Maybe that'll just fix it.
Okay. Now I'm good. That puts them in between us.
Hmm.
Oh yeah? Well, we're...
Nothing is yours but your life, and I can take that too?
Not
Okay, awesome.
Come on, move it!
That's good. That saves us some trouble.
Cool. And it levels us up anyway. It would
Yeah.
not have been quicker to kill them. Literally. Would have been slower. Just definitionally.
Yeah.
Just...
Let's have a look.
Oh, I get... I get darkness. Eyes of the dark.
Oh, you see through magical darkness?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or,
yeah.
hold
No,
on.
you cast a darkness that you can see through.
I get darkness. I can cast darkness, and then Eyes of the Dark, create a dark shroud that heavily obscures and blinds creatures within it. Creatures cannot make range attack. Did I just get 2 versions?
Yeah, one of them you can see through, I think.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, wait. One costs spell slots, the other costs sorcery points. That's what it is.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Well, then you can't see through it. What the fuck? I thought you could.
New spell. I'm thinking... I think a shatter. A good shatter. And then... New meta magic. Target spells that require saving throws have disadvantage.
Okay. So that's my last level of Warlock, I guess. And I'll just go the rest Paladin.
Sounds good. I'm trying to decide between heightened spell or quickened spell for my next meta magic.
I love doing Eldritch Knight for Lae'zel. I could not explain why.
Targets of spells that require saving throws have disadvantage on their first saving throw, or action spells can be bonus actions. It's kind of hard. I think I'll go heightened spell. We'll do that. And what do you get at Death Domain? Class features. Oh, you just get more spell slots right now. Paired spells, we're gonna get those out. We're gonna put that there. And actually, no, not hold person. Yeah, I'll take hold person. That'll be a good setup.
I love to hold a person. Any volunteers? All right, we want to go beat up these guys?
Yeah, I'm down.
Why do you give a look? Everything all right out there?
Oh, you have volunteered.
Get inside and I'll rustle.
Helta came running.
We have two lovely volunteers and one kinky one. You know, it's a good day.
Ooh, that just looks bad.
Burning to death? Yeah, typically.
Yeah, with holy fire.
No more prayers. Only dust and silence.
All right, I'm gonna pick up all this food for us.
Let's
Who
go.
are those prayers for? Normally the patron god is Orpheus. Not here.
Pick it all up and send it to camp because it will come in handy later.
Maybe when I steal your cheese that you're going for?
You know what? That's fine. I didn't want it anyway. Have your butter cake.
Damn.
What's hiding here?
No, actually, it did sound kind
He's
of
going
fire.
after my butt. Your cake.
Send to camp. Always.
Light on my feet.
Anyway.
Breathe deep and move.
Ready?
No, not really.
I need a drink.
Yippee! Do we have a fire thing?
I have firebolt.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to... Oh, never mind.
How'd you get
No. Oh, wait. Now they're all not.
time to strike?
Well,
Someone's in here.
Well, I'm holding priority, I guess.
yeah. You still have priority?
Yep.
Oh my God! They're all right next to it. Hold.
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay. Now you can go. That's great. That's honestly a better way to do it.
Fucking ideal. Oh, I have magic jumping powers now. Hold on. Just assign that. I don't even really want to charge in there. Honestly.
Put that like that so I can see everything. You can just get through the door at least, or
I
do
just think
range
we could.
attacks and move.
Yeah, we could close the door.
With the exception of their caster, they're pretty messed up.
Let's see. She is definitely gonna ice knife us on her turn.
Yeah.
So I'm
yeah,
just gonna
then yeah,
get the
Closing
fuck
door
out of the
might
way.
actually be a good idea.
Right?
Come on, do
Let's
it to
let them
me.
get closer.
Yep. Hey, you're smart when you want to be.
I do my best.
Oh, I don't have an action to open the door.
Yeah, and then it uses your action to use the lever anyway. So
Yeah.
probably just want to hold that turn anyway. And they're gonna knock it down, which takes a billion fucking years, so instead...
You do that, and I do... Actually, I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna let you attack, and then I'll jump in and attack.
I'm gonna send...
Oh, wait! Shadowheart's not even in... Hold on.
Oh, yeah, do that. I'm just gonna go bother the ranged user, throw Lae'zel in front of her. We love a miss. We love a miss.
Yeah.
Exactly what we were looking for, actually. There it is.
Okay, now she can... I'm just gonna float in here now. We're starting to...
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna try and survive the ice. Nope, didn't. Fucking ice knife. Fucking ice knife.
we
and there's the second one. Yeah.
Oh, no.
God, I hate her.
That's okay.
Yeah, she's dead.
She has saved every one of those. I mean, every single one of those.
God.
Here.
You got her?
Alright. It's all you.
Okay.
I believe.
I guess I'll take her out. Oh, I can't hit her. Never mind. I'll take her out. Oh, you were gonna move anyway. Okay, well, fuck you.
I fell again, Moth.
And they shot you through me.
Jesus, she just wound back up and swung. So about that short rest.
Yeah, I'm just using up my spells.
Hex of Intelligence?
Yeah, because then I could re-hex people. Oh, no, I can't.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. Never mind. You can only do it if they die. Probably to prevent the exact thing I was just trying to do.
It's been a long day. I need to rest soon.
No, you don't. You're fine.
Let's see. Breathe deep and move.
Send those to camp. Take those.
Let's have a look.
Ow. Fucking hell.
Damn.
What was that?
What'd you do?
I don't even know.
What happened to you?
I have no idea. I fucking tripped, I guess.
Oh, wow.
God, I hate it when I'm trying to be an adventurer and I stub my fucking toe.
Yeah. We get everybody? Yeah, we got everybody. You hitting the button?
Yeah.
That might be worth a look.
W.
I have something to ask.
All right, my favorite part.
Dancing
The
around
booby
a crypt
trap
traps?
room.
Yep. I set those fuckers off every time.
I I can probably get it. I'm just getting everything out of this chest.
This place wasn't built for the living.
I'm just gonna run around the room though and see what checks I pass and fail before I try. Gives me a good idea of how this is about to go. Oh god. Alright, so first trick. You're gonna go over here. Don't freak out if this goes into
turn base.
Turn base.
There it is. Just let me know when you need me to end my turns.
Forbidden knowledge, without a doubt.
We're good if we live.
Wonder what it's worth.
They didn't go off? Oh, exit turn-based mode. That's what it is. I hit the wrong button.
You are standing in fire.
I don't know why he ran back to it.
Did you loot all of it at least?
Oh, no, I got the spear.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Did you get the coin?
Not yet.
Never wanted the easy path.
Back into the fire and flames.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't stop unless you hit the button.
Nope.
Okay.
Feel free to go back into
trick.
turn base if you need.
Okay.
Here goes nothing.
Eager for battle.
You get a key for this chest, or do I need to lockpick it?
Just not enough movement. She's gonna get... Oh, wait. Okay. We're good.
Oh.
She got a little burn from it, but it's fine.
That's fine.
What do you... did you... Oh, you broke the door.
Yeah.
Alright.
And then I went into the side room and I can't open the chest. I guess I could try and lockpick it, but...
You try and lockpick it. I think the key's in here somewhere.
Yeah, find the key.
Send that. Put the coin in my pocket.
Here we go.
This book is far lighter than it should be with such a massive
Is it in this
log.
chest? No. I took everything.
As the
No, I
lock
don't know where the key
opens,
is.
a loose page comes with
I think there might not be.
magic pulses from
It might.
parchment.
Might not be. I can't remember.
What was once script is now an obliterated scrawl. You have a sense. these
Cannot
are
remember.
a list. But of what? Gods. These are the
There we go.
names
Sorry,
of
I had to look at
gods.
something on my
The
computer real
last
fast.
three names in this
Are you
book
still in the
seem
side room?
close
You are.
together.
Yeah.
But as the entire pantheons have dwindled and been reborn, silently record.
Let me take a whack at this.
Yeah, you got
See
guidance.
what happens. I also have...
Have to keep going.
yeah. Let's see what happens. I rolled a 4.
Let's go.
Armed scribes. But no
Let me
signs.
use another lockpick.
Fuck yeah.
Bones are intact. What scavengers have disturbed them?
I rolled a 7.
Woof.
How quaint.
I have one more lockpick. Actually, I have 2 more.
This is gonna make me miss my bard rogue build.
Anything of use?
Oh my god. Oh, come on. One more thieves tools. Okay, we got it.
Let's go.
On the last thieves tools. All that for a dinner plate and a silver cup.
Oh god. Did it use your last thieves tool? Oh no, I have some.
No, if you
Let's go.
If you succeed, if the roll succeeds, it does not use the thieves tool. If it fails, it consumes it.
I see. Should
I
we
do remember that.
beat up the dead scribes?
I am down to do that.
Do you want to do it from the room or out here?
I think it would be better. We need to split up a little bit. I think one of the range needs to push the button, which I will go do.
Okay.
I'll leave Shadowheart here since I think she'll do better.
I'm gonna stand right next to the warrior. No, I'll stand next to a mage.
Okay. Just let me know when you're ready.
Oh, enough waiting. I crave blood.
And I'm ready.
Ready? Let's go.
Breathe deep and move.
Bam. Let's go. Love. My favorite spell in the whole game. Spirit Weapon.
It's so good.
It's so good. Well, Eldritch Blast and Spirit Weapon.
Yeah, I don't know. Eldritch Blast is only really good if you've got the invocations to up it.
Do they always do blinding? Do they always cast that?
They cast darkness, yeah. Always.
I've only ever had them cast Ray of Frost and Silence. Ever. That's a first for me.
Oh damn, they always fucking do it to me. Even when I'm in that fucking room. They just darkness it.
I think I'll use this and we'll... Where you at? You're a little hurt. I'll throw them all on you.
Ooh. Damn.
There it is. That's what I'm used to.
Right.
I've never had them cast darkness on me ever. Jesus Christ.
Woof. This is when... Really? Seems like overkill.
Okay. I mean, I'll deal with it.
Light on my feet.
You have that. Yeah, you got that handled. I'll head this way.
Yeah.
And we'll meet in the middle. And it's gonna be my turn one day.
What the fuck? Why didn't I get an attack of opportunity on that bit? Oh, they were a little too far away. I see. If I chug a lava lamp, can I see your kneecap? You could just see my kneecap. I'm not gonna lie.
What a sentence. And I didn't even have to look over. Like, that spooks. All right. Down to 2.
Let's go.
Yoink. Wow.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Oh, that should not be on auto use. Jesus Christ.
Helter Riz, can I chug 2 lamp and get a peek at those ankles?
Again, just DM me, be like, can I get a picture of your ankles? I think I'll just give it to you. I'm not gonna lie. I think we're that close.
I'll strike you down.
W fight. Oh wait, we got one more up. Whoops.
Can't even catch my breath.
I didn't know you were simul attacking him.
Need to find a way forward.
Shit. Can't get at him.
Of course. On the last one, everyone starts missing.
Yeah, I guess I'll action surge. Fuck it.
All right, check the pockets.
Run them for all they got.
Good.
Moving in.
Hey, this one had the heavy key.
Ah, how convenient.
Yep.
A lot of effort to hide one sarcophagus.
Okay, I'm gonna let you talk to Withers. I have to pee again.
Okay. I'll go do that. Chat, I miss Moth. Can't believe she left us. All right. Gnashing a teeth, Druid. I remember the first time I saw this scene, and it was this game was so peak. The first playthrough of this game was so peak, and I wish I could get that experience every time. I get just as good of an experience every time, but it's not quite like that first time, like that first time meeting Withers.
Spoken, and so thou standest before me, right as always. What a curious way to awaken. Now, I have a question for thee. What is the worth of a single mortal's life?
Quite the question. We'll do that one.
Nothing more. Wilt thou answer my question?
Oh, it glitched and you didn't get the scene? I hate that. It's such a cool, like, moment.
So, I ask again, what is the worth of a single mortal life? In death,
There we go.
that is so.
I feel like that's how he would answer that.
I am satisfied.
When I first played this game, I got caught in a love triangle that was so stressful, I had to switch the computer off and go for a walk. Who was it, Spooks? Who was it? You have to tell me.
Farewell.
You can't say that and not tell me who it was.
I love playing a Gith Yankee Saloon Knight and romancing Shadowheart. Fight me, goth woman. Beat me up.
Right. Now, Moth, it is your turn, because I have to go to the restroom.
Let's go.
So, chat, be good. I'll be right back.
Chat, be bad. Cause chaos. I'm not going to do much about it.
I'll give it a shot.
Wait, did he... Druid, you said the interaction with Withers didn't happen at all? In your first playthrough, did he show up at your camp, or were you just kind of fucked? Because that's a big oopsie. That's a big glitch. I miss Cap. Autocorrect tried to change that to Kiss? Yeah, lucky Cap. Okay. No successful survival checks here. What even is there next to do once Cap comes back? He used another spell, but he's got fucking sorcery points. Oh, I guess we never talked to... I should go do Zoro really quick, just to get that out of the way, because I'm the one running with Lae'zel. I'll just do that real quick. Ooh, I could probably kill the Bugbear, too, really quick. Showed up at camp, but no scene, no question posed either. Yeah? I guess that's fine then. The question is... something. I don't know. There are some questions that just asking them is kind of counter to my worldview. So it's like,
What are those
I don't
questions?
know how to answer
Pilot
them.
Mike?
What's the weight of a mortal life? It's like, I don't fucking know. That's kind of none of my business.
Like, dog, I'm just trying to get by right now. Where did you go?
I fucked off back to camp because I was going to go talk to Zora really quick since I had Lae'zel, but then I remembered there's a bugbear that I could probably pretty easily kill.
Okay, so Emerald Grove.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm heading that way.
Nothing important is ever easy. What path lies before me?
I wish they would just put the teleport inside the grove.
It would be really convenient.
But they don't do it because if you do the grove a certain way, once you're done, you can't get back in here.
Right.
I get why, but it's still a pain.
It's still a pain in the ass.
I see you, but it's not loading the character models for who you're fighting.
So I'm just out here fucking about. Did you take a short rest?
No.
Oh, okay. Thought I used my pommel strike. Oh God! I should have waited for you. He crit against me, the bastard.
Well, you won. Talk to the lady.
Yippee!
Yeah, you get to talk to women.
Never been much of a
I've never lived this experience. What do I even do?
You're not here for heroics, are you?
Talk to a woman in 2026?
Terrifying.
Work.
Let me guess.
Crazy work.
Your devil
Here, how about we look at my
mistress sent you
Gundam
to get her
collection?
soul coin back. Too bad. I earned it, fair and square.
You lost me.
You almost seem honest. Care to explain why you reek of the hells?
Bad shit. Bad shit.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's quite the story. And I thought I was due.
Oh, I thought you did the intimidation at first because where the mouse was on the screen. Or
No,
the cursor was.
I almost did, but I was like, I guess I don't care about the coin that much. If I was partied with Karlach, maybe I would have done it.
Yeah.
Very valuable.
Okay, now time to go threaten Zoru. And then we will be back to whatever we want to do.
Yeah. Threaten Zoru while you have 1 HP.
He could spit on me and I'd fucking die, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah. He doesn't know that, and it won't hurt him to not find out.
Exactly. Wait, how many times can I use the warlock, or not the warlock, the half-orc thing? Is that long rest or short rest, I wonder? Probably long.
I do not know.
I had to guess.
Sounds good on paper. While you do that, I'm going to sell some more of our
Long
stuff.
rest. Hey,
Anything?
Zoru.
Very well.
Sell that. Sell
The
that.
Teethling.
Sell that. Sell that. Teethling.
By Mordai's eyes, another one.
Oh, wait.
My friend's blood not enough.
I need to give her this
Come to rip me
spear.
open too. Is this monster with you?
I think I threw some stuff in the chest here. I did.
You saw another gift. Where?
Sell the rest of the
On
stuff.
the road to Baldur's Gate, near the mountain pass. Saw us, for we saw it.
No twisting. The map. Show me. Up.
Cool.
There we go. Sitting on a little bit of change now.
The locals
Let's
prove
go.
compliant.
538 gold.
Phew. A
Don't
shell so
know of
thin
anything.
requires little to crack
Still
it.
doesn't have
The
anything
teeth
this
sling
this
was
quite
clear.
a necessity for me right now. I will say after this, I would like to go into the cave so I can get that one staff.
Oh yeah,
I can't remember-
yeah. The spear.
I can't remember what it does. The
Lines,
there's a-
motherfuckers.
You will educate me on matters of this.
Oh, not the owl bear one.
Run.
No. The goblins in the cave where the guys passed out.
Oh yeah. Let's go do that.
Yeah.
I'd hate to. I don't need. I'll just drink a potion. That's fine.
Yeah.
We'll do
Oh,
that,
you're
and then
gonna go-
maybe long rest.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm down. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the outside and get the entrance
Shoot before you lose your nerve, Tiefling.
discovered.
If you ever had it to begin with. Doesn't even matter if
The
you kill
entrance
me.
discovered.
I'm chosen by the
Yeah, you're gonna go. I know you're thinking about going into that cave from that direction probably, but I like coming in from this way.
Okay, I'll meet you in the middle.
And we'll meet in the middle. Sorry.
You're not.
No, I'm not.
Oh wait, shit. Hold on. As long as I'm here with Saza's corpse.
Better not be cursed.
I'm like that scene from The Incredibles too.
The corpse regards
Spooks.
lifelessly.
Come on, open the door, please. Thank you.
Priestess Gut, Boss Rexlin, and West.
I'm gonna be mad if I walk all the way over here and I fail the checks.
That would
Nope,
be
got
really funny. There's no check to find the entrance, I thought.
I think it's one of those things where it makes it look like a check just for the sake of gameplay. But you auto pass it every time.
I know there's the check for the secret little backpack by it. Oh.
I have to. I need to get a little closer. How close can I get before you don't actually?
Ooh, sorry. I probably immediately put you in turn base.
No, actually, it worked out. I needed to be in turn base to hit that button for the trap.
Same.
I like how the mage hand like crouches down, scrunches down when you hide it.
I had a mage hand. I could have just done it that way too. Well, whatever. Okay, you good non-turn base?
Yeah, I'm good non-turn based.
Okay. Fight a motherfucker?
If you want to kick it off, once you get it kicked off, I'll start up here.
Okay.
Could wake him up by chopping his toes. That'd be funny.
Surprised attack with advantage did 1 damage.
Oof. Fucking brutal.
Okay. What are my options here? Fuck it. That works.
Just gonna hide behind a pillar really quick, even though they're all surprised.
And now I go here, and I don't do anything because I attacked out of turn.
You're
At the ready.
ah.
I want a little retribution for that damage output. Oh, they're wet. How dare. All right now.
Yeah.
I'm getting the shart now. Shadowheart's gone. Shart's here.
There is no shadow art, only shard.
Yeah.
God damn it. Damn. Whoops.
We keep doing that. Hoogie.
Yippee, yippee, yippee.
That should work.
Yippee, yippee, yippee. Now, can I pass these checks? Okay, fail. She passed, though.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Thought I was gonna
Shadowheart,
die
you
down
stay
there.
back.
I told them I must help.
Can I disarm this trap?
It's been a long day. I need to rest soon.
I love that we're just like trying and failing at doing rogue things because we told our rogue to fuck off.
Yeah. Give me that guidance bonus. So about that trap.
Did you set it off?
I'm gonna use it. We've got 2 inspirations. I'm using it.
What path lies before me?
All right, we're gonna pass this time.
We're willing it into existence.
Yep.
Enough waiting. I crave blood. That's curious.
Ow.
Needed 15 to pick the lock. Roll a 14.
Hold on. I fucked up. Okay. Everything's fine.
You okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Trying to exit turn-based. There it is.
Okay, this staff.
Oh.
What's inside?
What happened?
I killed Lazel.
I see that. I come out of the lockpicking menu just in time.
But I inspired you, so everything's fine.
Let's move.
Totally worth.
And I step forward.
Fly trap. Chance to ensnare targets if it is not a plant or a beast. Okay. I'll take it. I'll run it. All right. Have you woken Broski up yet, or did he?
I woke him up. He's gone.
Okay. Good. Cool. Coolio. Is there anything else you would like to do today? No, I'd be alright if we wanted to pack it up. Yeah, we're getting close to 5 hours, and I'm starting to get hungry again.
Very fair.
My
Put ourselves
breakfast
in
is
camp.
officially worn off. Yeah.
Do a little quick save, and then everything's good.
Yeah. Moth, I had a fun time today.
I miss doing this so much.
Yeah, getting back to the Saturday routine.
Yeah. No, it's not a real Saturday without hanging out with Captain.
No, it's been fun. I've missed doing it. So glad we get to. You got past your computer issues. I got past not having internet for 6.5 weeks.
We were cursed to be apart, but now we fixed it all.
Yeah.
What are you
All
thinking
right.
for raid targets? I've got a couple people.
I'm pulling Twitch up right now. I was gonna see who's online.
Who
Who are you thinking off the top of your head?
Vesper streaming and Kiana streaming. And they're both someone I haven't rated in a second. What are they doing?
Max
Vesper
is also on. Max Argus.
I don't know that I've ever streamed Max. or Stream Max, Rated Max. But I am following them.
I have once, and they've rated into me. I love them. They do. Actually, let me see what they're doing right now before we do anything.
They're playing chess.
Playing. Okay.
But they're doing a special event. It's a new model. Oh, it is really cute.
Oh, it is a new model. Do you care if we go there?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
W, I'm going to get it started, and then we'll start doing outro stuff.
Hell yeah. Everyone, if you're not following Captain, if you're not in Captain's Discord, if you're not passionately smooching Captain on the mouth every night, truly, what the fuck are you doing? There's nothing else you could be doing with your time. That's the best use of it every time.
Have you started the raid already?
I have started it. The timer is going.
Okay, I got mine going now.
And
guys, girls, thank you for coming out. Today was very fun. Glad to get back. Here is a raid message from me. And raid sub. There's some with some emotes. If you want to mix match, make a group. If you're in both chats and want to make a group one, be fun. Do have a Discord now if you want to keep up with what I'm doing and hang out, share memes. We're going to start figuring out some movie night stuff. But yeah, I've got plans for 2 regular movie nights.
That'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah, fun time, Mom. Guys, thanks for coming out. I will see you all Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time.
And I'll see you Monday for whatever the fuck we're doing Monday. Bye, I love you. Thank you for coming out and celebrating our birthdays. It's our birthday. It's Captain's birthday. Did you know that?
Bye. Happy birthday. Bye. What are you still doing here?
Okay, right now. Fuck those guys.
I did.